turn on the microphones of the participants. So first we have Judith Clark. Hi, Judith.
Hi, Roberto. Also have 5 other people with me from the Cayman Blood Donor Services. I have Greg Honigan, Christine Miranda, Janelle, Heslop, Lisa Parks, and Carl Brown.
Okay, gracias.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Judith. Welcome.
Thank you, Judith.
Okay.
I also forgot to mention that I am here with Mauricio Beltran.
Hello, good evening for all. This is the first meeting in this year. And the idea is to continue with these activities to the Caribbean colleges. Thank you.
Yes, and this is Roberto Garza, also from the Regional Program on Blood Services here in the Pan American Health Organization. So right now it's time for Dr. Michel Antoine from the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago. Hi, Dr. Antoine. Dr. Antoine, can you hear us? Okay, we will try again in a minute. So right now we have our colleague Edwin Bolastic from PAHO in Trinidad and Tobago. Hi, Edwin.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Roberto, and hi, Mauricio.
Hi, Edwin.
If you can introduce yourself, Edwin.
Yes, I'm Edwin Bolastic. I'm the Health Systems and Services Advisor at the PAHO WHO Country Office in Trinidad and Tobago.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right now we have John Egunjobi from the Ministry of Health. Hello, John. John Egunjobi, can you hear us? Okay, we will try again in a minute. Right now we have also Dwayne Gonzalez from Friends of the Blood Bank. Hello, Dwayne. Can you hear us? If you can please introduce yourself.
Please.
Okay, we will come back in a minute. And also we have from Haiti, Dr. Brice Dassay. Hello, Brice.
Hi, Roberto. How are you?
Fine, thanks. We can hear you clear and sound. Perfect. Okay.
I'm out of the office now, but the MBT is supposed to connect with you with the other staff.
Perfect, perfect. Can you introduce yourself briefly?
Yes. My name is Dassay Brice. I'm the spokesperson for Haiti in the blood safety, and I'm here glad to assist and participate in this webinar in the recruitment blood donor. Thank you for the initiative.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Also, we have Joseph Reginald. Hello, Joseph. Can you please introduce yourself? Hello, Joseph.
Okay.
Hi, Joseph. Hello, welcome. Could you please introduce yourself? Where are you from, and where do you work? Okay. Well, we will go ahead, and we are very happy to introduce Dr. John Gullam, who is the Director of Donor Resources in Northern California Community Blood Bank in Eureka, California, here in the USA. And John has agreed to support PAHO in this initiative. And thank you, John, on behalf of the Pan American Health Organization. And please, you can start now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here, and thanks to Roberto for making this happen today. So to start a little bit about who I am and about the Northern California Community Blood Bank. The Northern California Community Blood Bank is a private nonprofit organization, NGO, based in Eureka, California. We're an independent blood center. We're located in coastal Northern California, where we serve a two-county area, approximately 12,000 square kilometers, with a population of about 158,000, which works out to about 13 people per square kilometer. We have ocean on one side, redwood forest and mountains on three, and we're a 3 to 4 hour drive from our nearest population centers, Redding to the east, Medford, Oregon to the north, and Santa Rosa, California to the south. There can be disadvantages to being somewhat isolated, but I believe if we can identify and embrace the advantages, I think we have a unique opportunity to be successful as blood bankers and as members of our community. Our donor recruitment team consists of myself, Tara and Cheyenne, who are apheresis recruiters, and our whole blood donor recruiters, Joanna and Dee. We've been very focused on apheresis collection, primarily of platelet components with the Terumo Trimo equipment over the past couple of years. Platelet donations for the center are recruited by Tara, and Cheyenne focuses on recruiting for our apheresis mobile. Our whole blood recruiters each have a geographic territory, with Joanna covering the city of Eureka, our largest population center, and the south end of Humboldt County. Dee's territory is north of Humboldt County and all of Del Norte County. Dee also supervises our telephone recruiters. Telephone recruitment is done in the evenings from 5 until 8 p.m. These employees are generally high school or college students who work 10 to 15 hours per week. Telephone call lists are created in our BEX system based on current patient need, inventory, donor blood type, and the location of blood mobiles the following day. The people that the telephone recruiters call are already in our system, having donated previously. Telephone recruiters call donors. Dee and Joanna create donors. So, who's a donor recruiter? Let's start this way. Raise your hand if you're a donor recruiter. Wait, actually, let's do this. Everybody raise your hand. I know I can't see you, but raise your hand. Okay, you're a donor recruiter. Everyone here is a donor recruiter. Everyone in your organization, your spouses, your friends, everyone who has ever donated or received blood is a donor recruiter. The role of the donor recruiter involves creating new blood donors and getting existing blood donors to donate. As donor recruiters, we're a resource for our communities. We're the people who will teach our communities that there are patients that need blood components every day. We're the ones who will educate our communities that the way those patients' needs will be met is through voluntary blood donation. We're the ones who will teach them that there is a need, and they are the ones who can meet that need. The process of recruitment: engage, educate, ask, follow up, repeat. Hello. Did you know that blood donors are needed every day? Will you donate today? How did it go? Do you think you'll be back again? It can be that easy. Okay, it's never that easy. Step 1, engage. Employers, civic organizations, churches, public events, face-to-face is absolutely the best way to communicate. There are some other resources to use: media, newspaper, radio, television, preferably free. Don't pay for media until you've done everything you can do with press releases, stories, guest columns. Make friends with people that you can call on to do stories about your blood center and about your donors. We may be a business and we have a bottom line and we have to make money to pay our staff, but we're a public service. What we're doing is something that the media should be sharing with the community. Leverage that to keep from having to pay for advertising. It will keep your expenses down, and it's a slippery slope. Once you start advertising, you won't get anything for free. So we don't pay for any media. Another resource is social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My approach to this is to choose a couple of channels. We use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There are hundreds out there. We've chosen to stick with 3. Automate. We use something called Hootsuite, where I can post to all 3 of those channels simultaneously. Unless you're going to hire someone whose job is to maintain social media, you need to make this as efficient as possible. Schedule posts. Sit down over the space of a couple of days and create content for your social media channels. Take pictures. Make posts that are not time sensitive, and schedule them to be posted once a week. We do something every Tuesday evening, something called Did You Know posts. I sat down and I did that one day, and it's carried on for 6 months. Respond to everything that comes across your channels. Any question, respond as quickly as possible. Now, social media is a whole webinar in itself, so I won't spend any more time on that. What we're trying to do with engagement is most people have no idea where blood comes from because most people have never thought about it. The first step to getting someone to do something is making sure they know that there's a need and that they can meet that need. We know people in our communities that can help us access local resources. Because we're members of these communities, we know what the resources are that people actually use. We don't need to spend a lot of money reaching tens of thousands of people in the hopes that 1 or 2 will respond. What we do need to do, however, is reach dozens or hundreds of people and make an impact with 4 or 5. Make it local. If you're affiliated with an organization that has ads or brochures available to you, consider whether you want to use them or not. It's always better to have materials that feature local people, local landmarks. This helps people feel that you're speaking to them and that their contributions have a local impact. Step 2, educate. Patients need blood every day for cancer, for burns, for trauma. Many patients will need continued transfusions for extended periods of time. Most people, if they do think about the need for blood, think about disasters, think about automobile accidents. The fact that there are people out there who need blood transfusions every day, whether it's been in the news or not, is something that most people aren't aware of, and that's one of the things we need to make people aware of. Donation is easy. Explain the process. Make them feel comfortable with the idea of donating before they ever come into the blood center. If they can envision what the process is going to be like, it's less scary. First-time donors are nervous. If they haven't donated before and they're contemplating letting us stick them in the arm with a needle, they're going to be nervous. The more familiar we can make the setting before they ever get there, the better the process is going to be for them. Their donation is unique. Only 30% of the population is eligible to donate, so immediately we've eliminated a huge percentage of the population. Now, 100% of the population could potentially need blood products. Again, only 30% are eligible, and numbers vary on the number of people who do actually donate. Donors with universal types, O-negative donors for red blood cells, AB for plasma. Those donors are needed because more people can use their types. There are always better outcomes with type-specific components. Another thing that people don't think about is that with the different blood types, it's better for the patient to receive their blood type. There are universal types. Everybody could get O-negative red cells. It's much better if they can get their type. So every donor can be matched with a patient who has a similar need. There's a need, and they're the answer to that need. And make the donation process easy. Make sure donors know where the blood center is located. Make the entrance easy to find. Use landmarks such as hospitals, bus and train stations, familiar buildings. When people are nervous, they look for any cue they can take that they don't need to do this today. So make it as easy as possible for them to find you. Step 3, ask. 85% of non-donors say that the reason they don't donate blood is that nobody asked. All of the steps in this process relate to the ask. People who have thought about blood donation, people who know someone who's received blood, when you ask them, they're more likely to say yes. So we need to prepare people before the ask, but ultimately we need to look them in the eye and ask. In small communities, we have a limited number of organizations, and we know someone in every one. We know Rotarians, we know people from the Chamber of Commerce. We know someone or know someone who works at that large employer or that university. We need to use those networks to find the people who can influence people within those communities, people who are willing to host blood drives, sign up donors. We need to go to them. If it's a Chamber of Commerce meeting, you need to stand up in front of the people and talk to them about blood donation. If it's a private company, we need to find out when they meet, get on their agenda for their staff meeting, and do a presentation about the importance of blood donation. Look them in the eye and ask. Follow-up. At our center, every first-time donor receives a letter 2 weeks after their first donation. This includes a letter from our administrator thanking them and telling them about the importance of voluntary blood donation. It also includes their donor card. This is their membership card in this new group they've joined. They're now a blood donor. We also include type-specific information telling them what their donation is likely to be used for and about any apheresis components that you may want to talk to them about. They also receive a first-time donor welcome call. I call this a no-ask call. This happens about a month after their first donation. We call them and we say thank you. We don't ask them to donate again. That'll come later. Depending on where their donation went, we'll let them know when it was sent to a hospital and which hospital. Not all of our donations go to local hospitals, so we'll be a little bit more vague if it's gone to a hospital out of the area. But if it's gone to one of our local hospitals, we'll let them know your donation went to help save lives at Mad River Community Hospital. We cannot approach donor recruitment the same way it's done in major population centers. We can't call 1 million people and have 1% respond. We have to call 200 people and have 5% respond. We can't have 1% of the population donate and then move on to the next 1%. We have to get 5% of the population to donate, and we need them to donate 2 or more times every year. The way we do that is building relationships. Bring them in to donate, and then never let them go. Step 5, repeat. You will never have enough donors. You will never be done recruiting. The need to recruit blood donors isn't something that you're going to fix. Donor recruiters need to know that they aren't going to hustle for a few months or a year, build a base of donors that will donate every 8 weeks, and then relax and let the donations roll in. We defer 16% of the people who walk through our doors every day. Some of them can come back the next day. Some of them will be permanently deferred. At our blood center, we estimate we need 2,000 first-time donors a year to offset the number of people who become ineligible to donate. We constantly need new first-time donors, and we constantly need to prompt people who've donated in the past to come back in. Now, calling people and asking them to come in can be a delicate balancing act. Donor fatigue is real. When we call people too often, they'll let us know we're calling too often. When they say we call too often, we ask them if we can put them on an emergency list and call them if there's a specific need for their specific blood type. Most people say, yes, you can do that. People who say, don't call me anymore, you call me too often, we call them again in 2 years. And every time we do that, there are people that say, oh, okay, go ahead and put me back on your list. Those people were tired of getting called, but 2 years later, they're willing to donate again. So we can put them back on the list. The exception to never having enough blood donors is times of crisis. Then you have a responsibility and an opportunity to educate. This is an opportunity to meet new donors and connect with lapsed donors who haven't donated in a while. This is an opportunity to educate our donors and our communities about the process of donation, processing, storage, transportation, delivery, and the use of blood products. I believe we have a responsibility to stop accepting donations when our patients' needs have been met. I believe that it's irresponsible and ultimately not in the best interest of blood centers to over-collect and waste donations when they have a lot of donors. Donors understand, when they put some thought into it, they understand the process, and they will know that if you collect from everyone who comes to the door when there's an emergency, you're going to have too many blood products. You're not going to be able to use all of them. I don't want to throw away their donation because there wasn't really a need. We need to judge the need and look at our inventory and respond appropriately. We need to let people know we don't need your donation today because so many other people in the community have responded so well. We've met our needs for now. What we need to remind people of is that the day before there was a crisis, none of us knew there was going to be a crisis, but we had enough of an inventory because of the people who had donated previously that we were able to meet the needs. We can use this opportunity to educate people that in 2 weeks we'll need them, in 2 months we'll need them, and in 2 years we'll need them. Recruiters have all the answers. Because as donor recruiters, you'll meet the public more than anyone else in your organization. You will be asked about safety, frequency, eligibility. You'll be asked all of the questions, from what time do you open to why do I have to wait 6 months if I take Avodart but only a month for Profusia when they do the same thing? All of these questions are questions you'll need to have an answer for. Something to keep in mind, though, is that I like to think every question has 4 answers. The short answer, the long answer, I don't know, let me have somebody talk to you who does know, and I don't know, let me find out and get back to you. I don't know is an acceptable answer, but you must follow up. One of the unique challenges of having a limited population to work with is that we can't afford to lose anyone. We can't afford to send someone away with a bad experience or an unanswered question and think, oh, there are plenty of other donors out there. There aren't plenty of other donors out there. Every single person in our community is important to us, and we need to treat them with the respect that they deserve. We need to treat them as our friends and neighbors because that's what they are. The importance of a stable, healthy, known base of frequent donors. Donor recruiters must maintain satisfied, frequent donors while at the same time identifying and recruiting non-donors. The larger the base of committed, regular donors you have, the more time and resources you can devote to identifying and converting non-donors. The safest unit of blood is the one that comes from a known donor who's familiar with the donation process and the importance of a safe blood supply. The danger of replacement donors is the danger of professional donors. In any system where people are coerced into finding donors, their desperation will lead to people offering to help. This leads to money, and this leads to lies. We rely on our questionnaires, and we rely on our donors' honesty. It's vitally important that people are honest and straightforward on the questionnaire. There are still things that we can't test for, and we need to rely on the questionnaire to screen some of those donors. There are things that we do test for, that we need to screen donors before the testing process, just in case there's a mistake. It's vitally important that we have honest, straightforward donors, and when you pay donors, they lie. Some good resources for a donor recruiter. A good camera is great. A decent smartphone is required in order to keep track of appointments, be able to post things to social media. Social media dashboard, like I say, I use Hootsuite. Again, that's an entire webinar on things you can use for social media. I think it's important that you have one system that you use to post to social media, and if not one person, at least a policy that has everyone on the same page, understanding what it is that you want your message to be. Windows Movie Maker, iMovie, they're easy, free tools that you can use to make videos. The video can be somebody waving. The video can be a piece of lab equipment whirring. Video catches people's eye and gets people to pay attention. Photoshop. There are free online alternatives. It's important to make the things that you do stand out from the other things that people will see. Google Maps. Google is a tremendous resource. You can look at population. You can look at employment numbers. You can use it to help you find out where people live, where they work, and help you decide where you need to be to find the people. Web apps. There are a variety of online resources that you can use that cost little or nothing. Vertical Response is a program we use for email. It keeps track of people who have opted out, who don't want to receive emails. It includes an unsubscribe button. It meets all of the requirements we have to meet to not be sending junk mail, basically. And they have a free version for nonprofits. eSurvey we use for annual donor satisfaction surveys. They have a free version. Gift Maker, Word Clouds, those are just little things you can use on the web to make your Facebook posts and your web page kind of jump out at people a little bit more. There are a wide variety of resources available to nonprofits and NGOs and government organizations that are doing good things, and we're doing good things. We need to leverage that, both with the vendors, if it means getting free or reduced priced software or getting stories in the newspaper. What we're doing is a public service, and we need to use that to our advantage to save costs, because in our case, we're a business. We have to make more money than we spend, and we have to pay salaries. We have to buy equipment. And all of these things are things that you can talk to donors about. Donors understand what our needs are when we explain them to them. But the most important thing you need to do with a small population of donors is build relationships with them. Again, we need our donors to come in twice a year, and we need a disproportionate percentage of our population to come in and donate, because we don't have an unlimited pool of potential donors. So we need to know things about them. We keep notes in our BEC system about their family members, their dogs. It's worth the time it takes to build relationships with donors and potential donors. So I ran through that pretty quick, but if anyone has questions, I would be happy to hear them.
Thank you, John. This has been a great presentation. We are really thankful to you for participating with PAHO and for coordinating this first webinar. Thank you. And as you said, if someone has any comment or question, you can either type in the chat section, or you can click on the bottom that has like the icon of a hand, and I can turn on your microphone. So if someone has any comment, question, maybe we can start with Judith and our colleagues in the Cayman Islands.
Is it off? Hello? Hello?
Hello, yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Carl Brown. I'm part of Cayman Blood Donor Service, an NGO that works along with the blood bank, whose director is Judith Clark. I wanted to ask John if we could get a copy of the audio that was just presented along with the visuals, which we can have access to, I think, through PAHO.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to tell you a little about our experience in conjunction with yours. We're a small tri-island community of 60,400 people. Only 30,000 of that 60,000 are a permanent Caymanian population, the Cayman Islands. Okay. The rest are from 120 nationalities, with a greater part being people who work for a time and then leave. So we do have a challenge with maintaining a steady, stable donor pool. We do have similarities with California, with the Northern California Community Blood Bank, a little less in numbers, but we have an understanding of the protocol that you utilize and the mechanisms to get and attract blood donors. I was just looking to our communications director of our Health Services Authority, who has been very instrumental in helping us to get our messages across and making our presence felt. And we have found a kinship immediately with most of the vehicles that you're using. Some of them are new to us, like GIF and Vertical Response E-Survey, but we're excited. We would like to ask you, how do you utilize mobile units, and to what extent do you find them applicable to your scenario?
Almost 3/4 of our whole blood donations come from mobile blood drives. One of the things that we've found is they're very, very important. We have a couple of our second and third largest population centers are an hour or more away. There are people who come to Eureka on occasion, and we'll get donations from them, but if we can go to them, it is much more successful. In our situation, we're able to, they're different communities, but they're part of the same community. We refer to this as the North Coast, and people in both counties and all of the towns feel part of that North Coast community, even though we're in different towns. So we're able to still use the local messaging that we're here in your community, even though they're separate communities. We've looked at setting up donation centers in some of those communities, and it hasn't been cost effective for us, but we also have some different challenges being part of California. We have requirements on having RNs present at all times, and some of the things that drive up the cost for us to have a permanent center somewhere else might not be as big a hurdle in other places. The mobiles are definitely a challenge. We have 3 blood mobiles, and we have a person who is the vast majority of her job is keeping those vehicles running and on the road. Wear and tear on vehicles is expensive. There are definitely challenges with having mobile blood drives, but we've also seen blood drives where we parked somewhere and we got a certain number of donors. We parked at a different business across the street and we got different donors. Donors can be lazy. The easier we make it for them, the more of them we'll see. So the mobile units have definitely been a key part of our organization. We recently added apheresis equipment to one of them so that we could leverage that as well, and that's been successful. Obviously, there are challenges with vehicles, but I think it's and there are some blood centers that do remote blood drives without blood mobiles. They take equipment in trucks, portable folding beds, and they'll set up in a conference room or a gymnasium, and they've found success that way, which may be a smaller initial investment, but a way to get you out into those outlying communities. So that might be something to consider.
Yes. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, and I wanted to tell you that I plan on stealing one of your ideas. I saw some posts on Facebook with folks holding signs saying, "I registered to be a blood donor." And we're going to start doing
and
that.
we have the originator right here, Lisa.
And thank you very much for liking our page.
Yeah.
I like our post. I'm glad to see that.
Go ahead. Our community is a very interesting one. While we are small, we're a very busy multinational business, international business center. And as such, to capture people's imagination, to get them to listen to us even for a small time, is a larger challenge that people would not understand if they did not come here to work and live. In spite of having 3 or 4 newspapers and about 10 radio stations and TV, we still have to target markets specifically because people, because of how busy they are, will only subscribe to specific media and medium. And we have to be studying their habits to zero in on capturing audience. It has not been cheap, but it has been very important for us to keep at top of mind. So we understand having to utilize every tool in the box: radio, newspaper, magazine, Rotary clubs, which I'm a part of, all the service clubs, sporting organizations, everything that we can put our hands on, including barging into our political appointees' offices and hijacking them to become a poster person for a specific instance. So we understand what you have been saying, and we feel encouraged.
Boy, the transient population must be a huge challenge. The people coming and going so often. Even if that's their home and they're traveling abroad with deferrals for travel, that's a challenge. With the non-resident, do you have non-resident workers who come to the Cayman Islands but are from elsewhere?
Yes.
Yes,
we do have. Of our 60,400, we have 24,000 people who are on work permit. Wow. That means a work permit lasts from 6 months to 3 years.
Okay. How are those people found? Do individual companies recruit, or are there services that people use?
Yes, they are recruited through international. First of all, let me give you an overview. We are the 5th largest financial center in the world. We have the highest number of IPOs and mergers and acquisitions. We're in the top 5% of those of the countries that facilitate that. So we attract a very large group of international financial interests in the capital markets. We have the highest number of accountants per capita in the world, 600, and 700 lawyers that deal specifically with international movement of funds. So we do have a strong professional class that is very transient and very preoccupied with their work. And yes, the other interesting part of us is that our donor pool up until mid-1980s was significantly boosted by an expatriate workforce that were predisposed to giving, those from Europe, specifically from England.
Okay.
After mad cow disease came in, we had to adopt best practice standards, and we lost access to a huge donor pool. And each year, we have to be acting proactively in trying to engage them as voices as opposed to donors, and a delicate touch, delicate walk in helping them to still feel part of our community now that they do not give.
Yeah.
So we have been challenged to have to reset in how we deal with recruiting donors and how we keep those who cannot donate, help them to become tools to help those who can.
Excellent. Excellent. I still have my fingers crossed that someday they'll come up with a test, but they tell me it's not going to happen anytime
you
soon.
do so, we will be here to crowdfund you.
Thank you, John, and our colleagues in the Cayman Islands for your comments and questions. We have a question from BHB. BHB, if you want to... Yes, hello, we can hear you. If you can quickly introduce yourself.
Hello, we're from BHB. My name is Tayo, and we have a population of active donors about 1,000, and we tend not to collect frequently from our donors because of the fact that about 50% of them do have some significant anemia when they present to the blood donor center. So we're very particular about the frequency of blood donation, and so that's why I'm asking what your experience is in terms of the frequency. How many of your donors come in more than 4 times, and do you have that kind of, you think you've noticed some form of iron deficiency in the large population of them?
Thank you. And just before going to John again, where are you located, sorry?
Bermuda.
Bermuda, okay, welcome.
Thank you.
We've definitely begun to take a look at that because of the Food and Drug Administration, our regulatory agency. In fact, the hematocrit cutoff for males was just decreased, and we've lost quite a few donors that way. We're waiting to find out what a couple of organizations here are going to do in response to the FDA's mandate. They've mandated that we do something about iron depletion. There are a couple of different options. Some places have started with a longer interval between donations. Some have started a longer interval for certain donors, young female donors, all young donors. We in various states, most states in the U.S., we can collect from 16-year-olds with parental consent or 17-year-olds without. So we go to high schools, and there's definitely a higher percentage of deferrals in those students, though it's not hugely disproportionate. We have information that we hand out when people are deferred, and depending on their hematocrit, If it's particularly low, we have some additional information, and we may have our medical director call them and recommend that they see their doctor. We will be doing something. We're not sure at this point whether we'll be handing out multivitamins or handing out coupons for multivitamins. But one of the things we're looking at is an adult multivitamin with, let's see, let me look at the bottle here, 18 milligrams of iron. There have been a number of studies that show that we can only absorb a certain amount of iron over a period of time. So a multivitamin with 16 milligrams of iron is as much iron as we can absorb quickly anyway. So somebody taking 1,000 milligrams of iron isn't going to have their iron stores increased. It needs to be an everyday thing. So one of the things we're looking at is actually buying 60-day supplies of multivitamins and giving them to everybody whose hematocrit is close to the cutoff level. Our approach when we do that will be, this is something to help you stay healthy anyway. As people in the medical field, kind of tangentially, we want to promote health with our donors anyway. If they can take a daily multivitamin, I started taking one last year, and I haven't failed my hematocrit since. It's definitely effective with a daily multivitamin. What I'm hoping is that we can actually purchase them and hand them to donors. I think that'll increase the odds of them actually taking them, as opposed to handing them a coupon and asking them to go to the store and buy them. But it's definitely an issue and becoming more of an issue. When this first came out, I thought, oh, another regulatory issue to deal with. But I've seen enough of the studies that I'm a believer. I think we are depleting the iron in our donors, and we have a responsibility to do something. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
No magic solution, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do anyone else have any question or comment for John? I don't know if some of our colleagues from Trinidad and Tobago feel free to type in through the chat section, or you can search and click on the icon that has a hand, and then I can turn on your microphone.
And we will send out the presentation, and it has my contact information. If you have any other questions, please feel free to be in touch. I love that we're able to have relationships across the continent and speak with colleagues who face similar challenges. So I'd be very interested in talking with all of you again sometime. So. Thank you,
John. Yes, that's right. I think if no one else has a question right now, feel free to then send those directly to John. And before closing today's webinar, I want to thank again John for this great presentation. And I really liked one of your slides when you were talking about the engagement, and you said that 85% of non-donors say that the reason that they don't donate is because nobody asked. And you know, this is something that personally I have seen, especially when I used to be in the blood donor recruitment part in Mexico, in my home country. So I think blood donor recruitment is key in order to see blood donors not as providers, but more as part of a community. So thanks again for this great presentation, and thank you all for participating. We had more than 20 colleagues who joined from 6 countries, so thank you all.
Roberta, there's a question in the chat, or someone who can't unmute their phone but has a question in the chat, if we want to.
Oh, give me 1 second. Do you know the name of that person?
Let's see, Judith Clark. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that's directly to me. I will respond to her.
Okay. Perfect. So, yes, John, I don't know if you want to add something else to conclude.
Just thank you very much, and again, I find it heartening to know that there are people everywhere doing the same things that we're doing and facing the same challenges and having the same passion for what we do. So thank you all for taking the time to be here.
Okay. Thanks again, John, and thank you all. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.